What's going on, guys? So let's talk a bit more about these dark gods who have crossed over from the dark multiverse into DC's prime universe. And at this point, 5 of them have made it over in the form of monoliths, but we know that there are 7 more somewhere else, making it 12 total. But for this video, I want to focus on the first 5 that have entered the prime universe and are beginning to awake one by one. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so the first dark god I want to talk about is Carnell, the dark god of love, who didn't appear with the first 4 that appeared on Earth, because Carnell's monolith instead went to Xamarin, the home planet of the star Sapphires, as a backup plan to lure Wonder Woman away from Earth. And initially their plan wasn't to lure her away from Earth, but rather to take her out completely. And that's initially what they intended to do before the monoliths arrived, but that didn't work. So Carnell arrived at Xamarin, posing a threat to their planet and also killing their leader, Delaferrin, which forced the star Sapphires to once again call for the help of Wonder Woman. So now, when Delaferrin made her attempt to take down Carnell, this was like our first example of what type of power he possesses and what he's capable of. Because when she approached his monolith with the intention to take him down, Carnell was able to sense any impurity of love within her and use that in conjunction with the star Sapphire power battery to burn her alive. And that made him extremely dangerous to the inhabitants of Xamarin, because he could literally ignite every sapphire on that planet and just be like, you think this is a game? Okay, whoosh, get fire on these sapphires. And part of that has to do with the sapphires, their interpretation of love, it's much more different than Carnell's, because they believe love is kind, love is unconditional. Carnell is quite the opposite. In fact, the extreme opposite, because he believes that love is conditional. But because the star sapphires are many of which who have been rejected, and even some like Delaferrin, whose flaw we're more familiar with because Carol Ferris was chosen before her. And we had seen jealousy in her way back then, because at the time she was told that Carol would be a better leader, and she ain't like that. Not one bit. But as far as getting into the origin of Carnell, he was once a mortal being whose father murdered his mother, who he loved dearly, at a very young age right before his own eyes. And because of the way that his father often treated his mother, he carried a heavy hatred for his father and the world at the time. And after his mother was killed, he ran away, literally running for his life. And it was at this time when he was alone that he was discovered by King Best, who was in the larger monolith that we'd seen previously on Earth. And when King Best had found Carnell, he recognized this strong love and this strong hatred within this child. And it was at that time that King Best had recruited Carnell into his pantheon, where he would become both man and a god. And when Carnell pulled Wonder Woman into his mind, well, first he did this because he would be stronger there to battle her. But by bringing her into his mind and telling her how he came about, this in turn gave Wonder Woman the tools she needed to defeat him. Because for Wonder Woman, unlike many of the other star sapphires, the integrity of her love was pure. And with knowing more about Carnell, she was able to face him and defeat him in love by enduring his attack with a pure heart and countering with the power of the star sapphires. And so, meanwhile on Earth, before Wonder Woman got back, because Wonder Woman disappeared as soon as these monoliths showed up, leaving her much less experienced twin brother alone to fight these 4 monoliths. And it wasn't intentional. Once again, the star sapphires grabbed her and took her to Xamarin to fight the first dark god who would awaken out of the 5. And as unfortunate as this was, because you know, it's kind of messed up, but as unfortunate as this was, this gave Wonder Woman an advantage by learning more about them by entering in Carnell's mind. But as far as Jason, he's not fully unarmed here, because his suit, which was created by Zeus, it arms him with an assortment of powers from the old gods. And because of this, he has the wisdom of Athena, and when he looks at them, he recognizes who they are. And for Jason, this works a lot like Shazam, because he's able to access Athena's wisdom. It doesn't mean that he just knows things all the time, but it's more like he can access that wisdom whenever he sees something, or if he decides to access that wisdom concentrating on a particular thought. And at this point, because he didn't think of this earlier, and he was really kicking himself in the butt like, man, I am too stupid to use wisdom. Why not think of that earlier? But by the time he decides to do this, it's too late. And 3 out of the 4 break out of their monoliths. And the first one that he faces, which is the second one that we're going to talk about, is Savage Fire, the goddess of war. And much like Carnell, who wasn't just simply the god of love, but more particularly, Savage Fire was war for blood, war for power, war for profit. Really, just anything warfare that has to go for either gain or for the kill. And as you would expect, she is the first to make contact with Jason, and taking him down fairly easy, and overpowering him when they go directly head to head. And so the next dark god that came out from the monolith would be the god with no name, And this god is the god of doubt and the god of literally nothing. And that's not like he's not the god of anything, but he's the god of actual nothing. Yeah, nada. And even though we haven't gotten the full origin on all of these guys just yet, we do know that it was this guy, the god with no name, who used Wonder Woman's wish for the gods to return to bring forth these dark gods. And even though her intention was to bring back the Greek pantheon of gods, because she didn't say that, she only said gods, with literally nothing emphasizing which gods, the god of nothing filled in that blank with himself being nothing, and this opened a doorway for himself and the others to cross over and come through. And for the god with no name, you can just imagine, like, this makes him crazy powerful. And really just imagine how infinite nothing is, because nothing theoretically reaches out infinitely. And this brings to mind Mr. Terrific, who has been studying the Dark Multiverse. And in the early issues of the Terrifics, he had mentioned that shortly after the events of Dark Knight's Metal, that there is a lot of nothing currently in the Dark Multiverse. And this is something that we saw unfolding throughout the series of Dark Knight's Metal and throughout the tie-ins as well, with a lot of the worlds being destroyed and the Dark Multiverse really just falling apart. But in the first couple issues of the Terrifics, when they visited the Dark Multiverse, after the events of Dark Knight's Metal, this is where we found out from Mr. Terrific that in the Dark Multiverse, there's supposed to be no life, at least none left anymore. But when they went there, not only did they find Lenya, who shortly after joined their team, but also back when they went there, they brought to life something dark and godly that nearly crossed back over with them. And to be honest, these dark gods spark even more curiosity about who that was floating in the middle of nowhere in the Dark Multiverse. Like, we gotta definitely revisit that very soon. But for now, we'll just continue with the confirmed dark gods that we know for sure. And the fourth one on this list of 5 that have arrived so far, the fourth one is called Mob God, the goddess of chaos. And for her, much like the others, her power is a type of inversion of what it sounds like. Because much like the god of love, which seemed more like the god of hate, and also the god without a name, who's the god of nothing, filling in nothing with something, in this case, we have the god of chaos, but her power reaches towards the order of chaos and the order of a riot. And that's really all we know about her so far. And with just these 3 waking up, and Jason already aware of who these guys are, he's just hoping and praying that King Best doesn't wake up like the rest of them. Because King Best is literally the god of these gods, and his power insanely dwarfs them. And Jason can hardly handle them, so what is he gonna do when King Best wakes up? And so now, before I get into King Best, I do want to mention that at this point, Jason does get some help, because as the Goddess of War is just beating the mess out of him, Supergirl comes through like, look alive, dark gods hypnotized, so I punched them in their eye. Beat up Jason Buckham, dog, he ain't the only one that fly. I get Rex to go outside and argue split him with the guys. I swear, that song is the first thing that came to mind when she said look alive, so I had to mix that in some kind of way. But check this out. With Supergirl no longer under their influence, and Wonder Woman hasn't made it back just yet. Like, all of this is happening while she's on Xamarin. And during that time, Supergirl comes in, Trevor, he's over at Argus headquarters, and at this point, the guy with no name and Mob God, they split up. And Trevor's sending who he can to help out, but it's like, there is nowhere near powerful enough to contest these guys. And the resources that they have disposable this quick of notice, like, they're getting nowhere, because he's just sending choppers. And had the whole damage thing worked out, that probably would have been helpful. But you guys already know how that turned out. But in addition to this backup, we also got the help of the Justice League. And he's excited to see them, but they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever, let's do what we need to do. Like, just fill us in with what you know and we'll take it from there. But when they get there, King Best is charged up. And it's super creepy because this huge stone head starts to turn like real slow. And after drawing enough power, King Best is ready to go to work. And so last but not least, number 5, King Best. And yo, I'm not gonna front, because with a name like King Best, who calls himself that? And I'm not gonna front, like, I thought Kanye West was gonna jump out of this monolith and be like, yes, my name is King Best because I'm a god. And that's who I think I am, the best. I mean, the name just made me think that. But as far as dark gods go, This is the Alpha. And now we don't know just yet if he's the creator of every single dark god, but we do know amongst the dark gods that he did create Carnell, and I do mean in that sense of converting him from a man to a god. But not only is he the leader of these dark gods, but he has also collected a pantheon much like the Greek gods. And King Best led them to destroy 5 realities in order to build the one that they call home in the dark multiverse. And I don't know what y'all think, but to me that's a bit extreme. But as far as the Justice League coming here to help out, to face this guy, man, like King Best just blasted them out of his way with little to no effort. And all we see is like these specks of light, like they gone, bruh. And like they barely got the chance to even put up a fight. But when this happens, it points out something pretty interesting, because Jason wasn't just vanished away like that. King Best just smacked him away like Nipsey Hussle did old dude on the Shade Room. But before King Best gets another shot off at Jason, this is where Wonder Woman comes back from Xamarin and she's able to help Jason out. And it's here that you really gotta wonder, what is it about Wonder Woman and Jason to where they're not taken out so easily? And part of that I do believe has to do with them being direct descendants of the old gods. But with Wonder Woman more specifically, before she left Xamarin, she figured out that she was just taken there as a distraction to get her away from Earth. And we know that part of that is because the Dark Gods, they needed time to charge up before having to confront her. But back in Wonder Woman Annual, when she fought against Carnell, like at that moment that she figured it out, she was like, okay, you guys wanted me away from the monoliths because I'm the one that brought you here, but also because, and Carnell just cut it off right there. He didn't let her finish anything. But I believe that Diana figured out that she knows why she's the biggest threat. It's because she's the one that brought them here and she's the one that could send them back. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Now that we know who the first 5 dark gods are, and Wonder Woman brought them here in a wish that felt like the form of a dream, and that may be a plug into the Endless, we'll see. We'll definitely explore that as we go further. But let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments. Smash that like button if you learned something new, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.